Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. My name's Jay Izzo, and oh, man, do we have another great show. So easy, great authors, great books, and then bam, I've got a great show. It's pretty cool, and I love doing it. This week's show, oh, man, I got to tell you this book. Really, really special. And so is the author, by the way. Tyler Dickerhoof, the book, The Things We Hide. Let me just say something about this book. If you want to get better, you're going to want to read this book. I promise you, if you want to get better in your life, in your business, in your career, you are going to want to read this book. If you are, however, choosing easy all the time, this book is going to be a struggle. Because the fact of the matter is, and here's where I walked away from this book, because the book is outstanding. It is absolutely brilliant. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable to read this book. You have to choose the hard. I worked with the Junior Carolina Hurricanes top tier 1 girls this weekend. And I do mindset work with them and team building things with them. And I told them it's easy to choose easy. It's hard to choose hard. You want to go against the best players. You want to go and press your body and mind and spirit and soul. You want your emotions pressed to the hilt, because when you choose hard, then the game gets easy. That's this book. Fabulous read. You get Tyler's story intertwined in here, but the lessons learned from this book are not just for today, they are for a lifetime. And I could not put it down. And I read it twice. And I abused it. And he's seen my abuse of his book. And it was worth every second. It stays on the top shelf behind me. It's that good, so I can highly recommend it. Let me introduce you to him, because he is a cool dude. I fell in love with him just reading his story. I just did. I just think the guy is outstanding. His name's Tyler Dickerhoof. He's a leadership mentor, entrepreneur, a host of the impact-driven leader community. With over 25 years of experience, he understands the real pressures leaders face. A Cornell University graduate, Tyler wants to find his worth by achievement, often at the expense of relationships. We've talked about that on the show, haven't we? Through personal development and entrepreneurship, he confronted the hidden insecurities that we all have, including yours truly, shaping his leadership. Today, he helps leaders slow down. Oh, isn't that interesting? Tell the truth about what's really driving them and lead with greater authenticity, clarity, and impact. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show. And welcome to the first time to A New Direction, Tyler Dickerhoof. Welcome, Tyler.
Man, so good to be here, Jay.
Good.
In that little opening monologue, you gave me a lot of questions. So okay. I know you're coming with the questions, but having my own podcast, I'm sitting here like enthralled to ask you. And so we'll get to that maybe. But man, I'm so glad to have this conversation and grateful for the opportunity to sit with you.
Well, we're grateful to have you with us. The book is, by the way, there's a foreword written by John Maxwell. You all know him. Do not skip the foreword. Do not skip the preface. Do not skip the introduction. We're going to do that, though, to get to part one, which the preface is included. And let me just say, there's a quote that comes out of the preface. I am going to start with the preface. There's a quote that you make here. Okay. You say, "What happens to you when you're young does not have to be the end. It wasn't for me." I think this is a word. These are wise words of encouragement, because I know as a coach that oftentimes I run into clients who said, "Well, you don't know what's happened to me as a child. You know, you don't know. My father beat me and I was an alcoholic or whatever." And it's like, okay, then their life is over. But it doesn't have to be. Can you give those folks out there some words of encouragement and why you're so, that's one of the things that just jumps out right there in the preface?
Something I gained later in life. When I was in college, I wrote a quote. Didn't make it in the book. Maybe it'll make it in one of them. And I wrote this, and I remember this quote because I was writing something. I'm never really author per se in college. But this quote strikes me, and it strikes me as you share that. The rewards of childhood are not seen by the child, but rather the adult that grows from that child. Let me say that again. The rewards of childhood are not seen by the child, but rather the adult that grows from that child. I wrote that when I was 21. I don't know if I was an adult yet, but I was moving along the line. And so to get back to your comment and the question, yeah, you don't know what I've gone through. I didn't know what I went through until I was much later in life and realized, oh, that could have gone a couple different ways. And I think we live in such a time where we can see stories of others and think, oh, yeah, well, maybe they didn't have it as bad as me, and however it may be. We try to qualify our good, bad, and different. Here's the reality. What you've gone through, Jay, what I've gone through, what the person watching right now has gone through has impacted us tremendously. Doesn't matter what it was. And yet we get a choice to say, does that move us forward or does that move us backward? I read once from Peter Drucker. He wrote, life's like a corkscrew. Whatever you go through is going to come around again. You're either going to be higher or lower. And so back to this comment, the idea, the thought of, you don't know what I've gone through. For me, it was the death of a brother. It was a farming accident when I was 14 and he was 3 and I drove over him when he died. And I didn't know how that was going to impact the rest of my life. To sit here and say it wasn't all negative isn't fair, because it was to a hindrance in, what I write about. But there was also one of the great blessings that I didn't share, but I'll share now. And this catches a lot of people by surprise. Not once, not one moment. And now over 34 years since that happened. 32 years. Let me get the math right. 32 years since that happened. Not once have I felt guilty. And that's one of the great gifts from God that I'm so grateful for, because I understand it's usually the guilt, the shame, the manifestation of our fears and insecurities that cause you don't know what I've gone through. That's my premise. That's my belief. And I think that's what we don't understand is like, oh, that's really what causes the problem, not the incident. The things that happened in my life, the incident was just another stone along the walkway. But how I responded to it in multiple directions, that's what caused what it caused. That's the grace that I was given by God to say, it was an accident. Move along. But I still responded. So coming back to that, the concept, the idea of, yeah, we've all gone through something and we get a choice.
That's beautiful. Thank you for doing that. I know that was not exactly how, it was not originally how I was going to start the show, but
Okay.
It was highlighted. I couldn't let it go. And I had to bring a start that way.
Good.
Chapter 1, which is called Feeling Rejected, Unworthy. And you're very open about this in the book, that your biggest insecurity was not having value.
Yeah.
I can relate, can understand it. I did. I had to go through it too. But you make a statement, you say, denial doesn't make insecurities go away.
Man.
And my wife gave me an acronym for denial. Don't even know I am lying. It's her acronym for it. But we do go into denial when it comes to our own insecurities and fears, doesn't it? Don't we?
A lot of our world tells us that's the way to get through it. Fake it till you make it. It's the, I don't want to say believe in it'll come true, but it's just kind of this almost to put our fears and insecurities aside and just think they don't matter. It's like, they kind of do, because they aren't going anywhere. I'm going to come back, challenge you a little bit. You said I had to work through that. And I'm like, Jay, you're still working through it.
Oh, no, it's a journey. There's no destination.
And I think that's something that I want the person watching and listening, the person listening right now to understand is like, no, it'll always be there. Now, the difference is can you recognize when it shows up? And that's where the whole denial, if we try to stuff it away, that classic, mound underneath the rug, like you're going to trip over it. You're dragging it behind you. It will. And the more that we can just, hey, I wear a black shirt. I pretty much wear a black shirt wherever I'm at. And there's one reason why. One, it makes it easy when I'm video. Number two is I get sweaty pits. Okay. And so there's nothing worse than wearing like a pink shirt or a blue shirt or a gray shirt. And then you got these pit stains. Now I can hide it and just say, well, it's easy to wear black. Oh, it looks better on me. No, it's so I don't show sweaty pit stains. And here's the thing about that. And I'm glad you're laughing because it's meant to be fun. And it's true, but it hurts, but it's true, but it hurts in all the right way when you said, this is a hard read.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be the guide to say, hey, it's okay to go with me. But I understand for a lot of people, it's going to be hard. And I get that. And so I take that for all positivity and good, right? It can be. Or you can look at it as like, man, I'm not in this alone. So coming back to the shirts, like the thing about admitting and owning it, as you did and everyone else, like, oh, yeah, I get that. So now instead of denying it, where there's no point of connection and interaction, you're like, yeah, I've been there. It's kind of annoying. You have this really nice shirt. You're like, I'm going to show up. It looks good. I have a buddy who would go to events and he'd wear a light blue shirt and just like look great. And he'd always have a jacket on. Why? Because he is completely soaked underneath. I'm like, it sucks.
Yes.
You can just embrace it. Don't wear anyways.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. The first step that you call out for us is that we got to recognize what our insecurities are, because that's the only way we're going to heal them. And you actually have here, 3 questions that, and you got to find the overlap between the 3 questions of your core insecurity. And I'm just going to go at them, and then you can follow up with however you want to talk about them.
Yeah.
Where do you lack confidence? Where do you feel most certain? And when do you feel most anxious? And it's the intersection of those 3 questions that's your core insecurity. Let me repeat them for those of you who are listening and you may be driving and you can't remember them. Where do you lack confidence? Where do you feel most uncertain? When do you feel most anxious? And it's that intersection between the 3 that kind of helps us identify our core insecurity. You want to talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's, for me, if I come back to and what you mentioned, do I have value? Where do I lack confidence? In a situation where I don't know if I'm adding value. Where do I feel most uncertain? It's like, do they value me? Where am I most anxious? It's like, I got to try to prove my value.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what's funny. Funny, I'm kind of, I don't say twisted, but just kind of, I think it's funny. It's interesting. It's fascinating to me. Here's what's fascinating. It's a better way to put it. I've had a lot of conversations with people before and after this book through my coaching and everything else. I've yet to find anybody very much different than, do I have value? Am I enough? And to me, that's pretty astounding. That the thousands of people I've talked to, the thousands of people that I've presented this to and gone before and had these conversations. And when I get from people, what's your biggest insecurity? When I do surveys, when I do workshops and on stage, and I have people anonymously share. I think of the last one I did, 62%. What are you hiding? Do I have value? Am I enough? Now, here's where, again, that fascination takes a different point of view to another level. What you're going through, what I'm going through, what everyone else is going through is not dramatically different. So those challenges we have in relationships, in office settings and whatever else, and you're thinking their problem is they're wondering, do they have value? It's not absolute, but it's pretty darn close. And so for me, that informs such a different position to be able to lead, to connect, to come alongside people is, yeah, it's always said, don't assume, right? It makes an ass of you and me, and it's not good. This is one of the cases where I think it's pretty fair to assume their insecurity is somewhere around, do they feel valued? Do they feel like they are worthy? And so when it comes back to this central point of those three questions, I can't wait for the point. It's like, oh, mine's totally awesome, wonderful. That's going to be the case. But yet asking those things, where do we lack confidence? Where are you most uncertain? Where are you most anxious? Those are the things that we're trying to, quote unquote, perform or prove. And that's what makes relationships and interactions with others so hard.
Yeah. And it's a great segue into the next chapter what is the effects of those insecurities around the effect on those around you? How does it affect others? And you have these four walls of insecurity. And by the way, I would say for me, on any given moment, any one of these four could show up. I would love to say that it's intensity and that's the one that shows up probably the most. But inactivity can show up, insensitivity can show up, and isolation. So these are the four I's. So let's just talk about these four walls of insecurity, and let's talk about how they show up and maybe a little bit why they show up like they do. Let's start with intensity.
Yeah. For me, that was put my head down and push and get through a tough moment. I recognize that's how I responded to the death of my brother. When I was being questioned by the sheriff, I'm like, it was an accident. I'm done. And I literally told him that. I'm going to go. I'm going to go milk those cows. I'm going. And I imagine quite honestly, I'd love to go back, find the sheriff and ask him. It's like, what were you thinking in that moment? Like, give me the psychological, the anthropological. I want to know. I'm curious now, right? The response. But yeah, that's how I got through things. And what I found is the hard things for the rest of my life. Well, that's how I got through it. Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't want to go with me? Get the hell out of my way. Right. I'm going through you. Oh, you fired me? Great. I'm going to the next one. I'm going to charge on. Be damned with you. All of those things. That's how I dealt with it. You're either with me or get the heck out of the way. And what I found is in a lot of leadership roles, a lot of extroverted, strong person, that's something they hold on to almost as a badge of honor. And that's what causes a lot of our challenges and problems because, like I said, it's a bulldozer. You just run right over people.
Right.
It doesn't help people get it where they want to go.
It's really interesting because mine can show up in a couple different ways. My intensity, I can be the bulldozer that you described. But then, if life throws me challenges, my favorite four words are I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. And it really is intensity because then all of a sudden I just shut everybody down and it sounds like intensity isolation, but I am just shutting everything out and go, okay, you know what? I'm on my own. I got to figure this out. So stand out of my way. I'm going to figure it out, which sounds great, but when we get to the end of the book and you're not linking arms because you're determined just to do it on your own, it's not real helpful.
It's pretty lonely.
Yeah,
that's the challenge. Is like anyone can sit and say, "Oh, well, that's how I get through." It's like, yeah, great, but what about everyone else?
Right?
Because if it's not with other people,
right,
it doesn't really matter. Mentor, you mentioned John. He told me this. It's like, hey, if you're self-made, you haven't made much.
I love that. I love that.
It's kind of true. I mean, you think about the people that have made the most, they didn't do it on their own. They had someone somehow, some way. Here, I want to interject this because you just bring it up where you kind of like, there's a moment of intensity isolation. Yeah. One of the things that this came to me one day and I'm thinking through myself, and honestly, where it came is I had a presentation to give about it's not about you. And I'm like, it just doesn't fit. And I feel like there's these responses to our insecurities. And so kind of workshop this in my brain at a soccer practice, my son. Come home and I get home to practice. I'm like, here's where it is. And where it was born is, like you said, all four of these walls I've leaned against. When I was in sales and consulting, yeah, I would lean against inactivity because I didn't want to get rejected. Like, I know I need to go call on that client. I need to go deal with this. There's other things to get done. It'll take care of itself. You see it a lot of employment. That's where I talk to people about it. It's like, hey, do you want to go have the hard conversation with people? Oh, no. It'll take care of itself. They'll leave, whatever it may be. That's inactivity. The intensity we talked about. The other one, isolation, which you mentioned, it's like, I'm just going to go off by myself. I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just disappearing. I'll figure it out on my own. I'll go to the mountaintop and where'd Jay go? He's gone, right? And then the last one, insensitivity. So that's a quick run through of all of them. But here's what I found is there were moments in my life where all of them would show up.
Right.
But there was one, that's the one I went to because I felt most comfortable. Right. I'd lean against intensity and I'd get real close. And as some people I shared, it's like, it's four walls. It's like a house, right? And there might be a corner you lean into. And it's just, to me, it's more of a descriptive picture of what happens to us so we can identify how we respond to our insecurities. But here's the real kicker. Because again, we talked about this. I have insecurities. You have insecurities. And so when I see you respond, you get intense and isolate. Oh, I know what's going on. Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, we're in this together, right? It gives you an ability to recognize what other people are going through. And what's that? Connection and leadership, where you get to do more together. But the ability to identify and hopefully put windows in those walls, as I described, because those walls will always be there. But how can we put a window to say, hey, Jay, this is what's going on? You got a little tense, buddy. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Hey, take me with you. We can do better together. Right. And I have to be told that too. It's like, hey, simmer. Okay.
His name is Tyler Dickerhoof. The book is entitled The Things We Hide is the name of the book. He's outstanding. The book is fantastic. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, when elite athletes leave the field, they don't lose their drive. They lose their framework. So I have a former Division I football star, a well-awarded Division I football star, hit a wall in his business. And he hired me. And somehow he realized that he thought that the game had changed. But what he did understand is that the need for coaching hadn't. And so what we did is through a targeted shift in mindset, core beliefs, because me, I've said this over and over again, there are no business problems. There's just personal problems that infect your business. So all of a sudden his career is now accelerated. Listen, you don't outgrow a coach. You redefine one. So you ready for your next breakthrough? Let's elevate your game. Contact me, jay@jayizzo.com. That's JAYIZSO.com. Or jay@thecoachjay.com is really easy. You can always check out the website. Just go to coachingmavericks.com. And Linda Craft, Team Realtors, we all know that buying and selling a home isn't just a transaction. It's a major life transition. Whether you're buying your first place, making room for a new baby, or downsizing for retirement can be incredibly stressful. This is why you need Linda Craft Team Realtors. For over 40 years, Linda and her team has been helping people in the local community and around the world navigate these big life changes. Her team doesn't just sell houses. They take the stress out of the process so you can focus on your future. Don't go it alone. Let the 40 years of experience work for you. Visit lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend Tyler Dickerhoof, the book, The Things We Hide. Fabulous book. Absolutely outstanding. I finished the review for Amazon this morning, and it'll be up as soon as they approve it. And you can read my review there and check out the book. It's also a great place for you to purchase the book. Tyler, I don't remember. Is this on Audible too yet?
We are in process.
So we're in process of that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm reading that. I'm having fun doing it.
Yeah, it's a blast.
You've written a book, and so there's some edits that we're finding need to be done. And
yeah,
it's kind of funny, you hear that from people. Like, you can read through it a lot of times.
Yeah.
And you miss some things. And so it's honestly, it's been like a Trevor Trove of kind of like, oh, there it is. Oh, yeah, that is what I meant. So it's, again, just enjoy the process.
Yeah.
It'll be out on Audible soon. I would say this fall.
Okay. I will tell you that I've written 4 and I've done 2 Audibles, and I found I was reading the book, and you know how you read the book out loud and it just does not sound the same as you read it in your head. and you realize that the sentence construction is just terrible out loud. And you're going and you're stopping. And if they ever record the bloopers, my bloopers would be hilarious because I'm like in the middle of recording going, who wrote this? This is awful.
This is so Jay, you and I, before we hit record, we did a little bit of this. I'm like, this is fun stuff. So this is one thing for me. And I think this is an interesting place in our world today is I'm okay with those bloopers being in there. You know why? You know what? This doesn't make sense. Let me fix it in real because this is what I found. And it's part of what I write about. It's be authentic, be authentically vulnerable. Say, yep, that isn't what I meant. This is it. I'm going to address it and fix it as opposed to hide it. Because the things we hide control us. What we face transforms us. In living out, like, yeah. In what I believe in such the world of AI, phenomenal tool is be willing to be real. Because the only place we can see real is when people are willing to be real.
Right.
So be real because people are yearning for it. And so there might be a few of those in the Audible. I surely hope the editors don't cut all those out because I've asked them not to. It's like, I didn't mean, this is what I meant. Like, if I didn't say the word perfectly and correctly, it's like, yeah, that happens. I'm real. It's not an AI bot. I did it.
Right. Yeah, my editors cut them all out. They just cut them all out.
Mine might too. I don't know. I've asked them not to.
I don't think cut them all out. I just know that. Chapter 3, we talked about effect on others. Then you have the effect on you. And this comes at a moment in your life. It's 2001. It was your first job as a dairy consultant. And then your roommate kind of bails on you and you're Bakersfield. And you have this subtitle called Alone by Design, but you say something here that you had relationships in other places. And I had opportunities but I chose not to develop relationships.
Yeah.
And I was being transactional rather than connecting with others. I think this is an important part. I just had this discussion with one of my best friends not too long ago. The difference between being relational and transactional. Talk about that because I think in the business world especially, this really happens more often than we realize that we start having conversations. I hate the word rapport because rapport sounds transactional to me. Relationships sound long-term. Talk about that, if you will.
I'm going to share something a buddy of mine have talked about. He and I have talked about, and I think it winds into this pretty good. So a buddy of mine is in the banking industry and he's senior bank leader. And we've talked about it. It's like, man, you know how wrong we get those first kind of sales roles, like, hey, go out and get business, right? Go make calls, go do all those things. And he and I talked about, I was like, if it were me and I was in that role, I'd say probably 2 years, but maybe a year. I want you to make as many relationships as you can. I want you to go golf. I want you to go to the lake. I want you to go build as many relationships as you can. I don't want you to try to sell anything. Go add value to people, build relationships, get to know about them, their business, whatever. There is no pressure to make any sales. This is my belief. And he and I talked about it. You compare that to someone's like, hey, Jay, you got a quota. You need to close 12 accounts in the first year. However that means, right? Pretty standard. The one who is told go make relationships will make twice the number of sales as the other one because that's all it's about. And yet I didn't view it that way. I was I got to go get business, transactional. I wasn't looking at making a long-term relationship, partly because I didn't know how long I'd be in the territory. And so many salespeople are like that, almost by design. Hey, go make a bunch of business. Oh, then we'll promote you. And you just become very, quote unquote, as we talked about, transactional, as opposed to being relationship laden. It's like, man, I want to, if I get your business today or 3 years from now, I'm okay with that because I'm willing to play the long game. And that's something that in my understand psyche and bit, I didn't know. And so because of that, everything was transactional because I had relationships somewhere else. And so really it was about, I didn't make the connections and where I did, I was having business success, but where it was just, I'm here to get your business today. It didn't work. Like I had a A client told me this. It was so funny. Client told me this. He goes, and I think I was already working with him. He goes, if somebody hires you on a cold call, they're going to hire someone else on a cold call too.
Wow. Wow.
Let me say that again.
Yeah, say it again, because wow, you just punched me right in the face.
If somebody hires you on a cold call, meaning I call you up, Jay, this is what I got to offer. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's amazing. I want some of that. They're going to hire someone else, ideally to replace you on a cold call too.
Wow. That's so good. That's so good. Because it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely true.
But how many sales managers, sales professions say, dude, you got to go make cold call. Oh, I signed this guy up on a cold call. Oh, man, we clap and hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. Really?
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I love it. You know, and I have friends this, like, you want to hire me in cold? You can't. I'm not going to let you. For that very reason. When
Wow.
you start to value your business, your relationships, that's what it comes back to.
I have a comment from an author I just interviewed who's watching the show. Thanks, Steve Riddle, all the way from Australia. I just want to give you some props here, Tyler. He says, agreed, relationships are the meaning of life. That is relevant in and out of business context. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all relevant.
Because here's what happens to us, and we're so much in this world today. I was on a webinar earlier, and we were talking about branding, honestly, branding within the dairy industry, which is fascinating, right? It's glad I get to sit in on this and talking about it was funny, myself and two other ladies were panelists in different stages of life, different places, but it all came back to being authentic and being you. Mm. And here's the challenge. And some people admit it and they almost revel in it. If you're a different person with your clients as you are with your wife and your friends, at some point, it's going to ruin you.
Ooh. Oh, that's good.
Because what happens is that transactional, if your client's like, I'm just on to the next one. All right, go for the next note. Go for the next note, right? In that transactional, as opposed to, I want to build a relationship. I want to learn about how can I serve you? This is what value, like understanding all those value dynamics, which are more advanced. We can't get into if we're transactional. Well, what happens in your marriage? What happens with your kids? What happens with your friends? If you're so used to being transactional, because that's how you view life and things, it's really hard to be relational in the other places. And it's where we end up so alone. There's a segment of book where, I talk about being alone on an island. And I make the comment, it's like, you marooned yourself there. There's a lifeboat that is there that'll take you anywhere. You just got to say, hey, I need help. Like, need connection. And how do we get there? Because in too many ways, shapes, and forms, we're transactional. Well, how do we, how does transaction come? Well, because we rely on the walls, the isolation. I'll go off, do it by myself. The intensity. I'll just go. The insensitivity, it's like, you're an a-hole. And I won't do it. It's like, I can't rely on you. Those things lead to that transactional type relationship situation.
Yeah. That's so, no, this is so good. But I want to get to putting the windows in your house, chapter 4.
Yeah. Okay.
You start with the mirror idiom, right? That we all know. Right? I mean, we all know the mirror, but you talk about the mirror and the windshield. And one of the things that just really just captured me, simply because I love this, you say our intentions live in the mirror, but the window shows our actions. We only see our intentions through the mirror. Others see our impact. I heard something about a year ago that I was having breakfast with a friend of mine. And he said this to me, and it really just struck me hard. And I think it fits exactly. He said, we judge others by their actions. We judge ourselves by our intentions. And I think that the combination of those two things are really powerful when it comes to adding windows to the house of how we view ourselves and how others view us and how we view others.
Mm-hmm. Entirely.
Talk about windows and mirrors and building some windows in our walls.
If I was able to do it, I could probably ask Claude to find out the number of business leadership books that say, take a look in the mirror. I'm guessing it's more than my two hands. I haven't done it. I need to do this. I'm going to write it down. Claude, mirror, business books. All right, there's my note because I'm very like that spit right now. And I just read one yesterday. And I was podcast with a lady and it was like, oh, look in the mirror. It's like, all right, so we know that, right? Look in the mirror. Well, we just talked about why the mirror's a liar. That's how I describe it. The mirror's a liar because I look in the mirror and I see my intentions. Like, I look good. Well, I've done the same thing with cameras, right? In video cameras or phone cameras, you look at a picture of yourself and you're like, that's what I look like? Like, yeah. That's what everyone sees. And so what I recognized is if we constantly look in the mirror, we're never going to get the perspective of others because we're going to justify what we do saying, well, that's the way to do it. Well, you don't know what I've gone through, right? We talked about that earlier. It's like, well, those are all mere statements. And where this idea of look in the mirror, well, the mirror gives you at least a perspective to know that I don't have hair. Okay. I can understand that. You talk about my long flowing locks. I'm like, sorry, Jay, I look in the mirror. I know I don't have that. And so there's a perspective there that's important. It gives you an understanding of who and what you are. But when we rely on that for everything, it's driving down the road. You look in the mirrors, check your lanes. Okay, we're good. It's clear. But you drive with looking through the windshield. And the problem is when we don't focus enough time on the windshield, looking through the window saying, hey, Jay, what do you see through the window? What's it like to have me as a guest? Like, what's it like to sit across the table? If we're not doing that at a ratio much greater than looking in the mirror, we're in trouble. I had this one idea one day. We talked about the four walls. Built a house, okay, our four walls. The house lined with mirrors. We're talking about mirrors right now. The house lined with mirrors. That's a narcissist. Because I look in the mirror and I'm doing everything right. My intensity there's a reason for it. My isolation, there's a reason for all those things. The healthy leader has their walls are filled with windows. What do you see through the window? And being willing to take that feedback and ask for that feedback and say, oh, okay, I'm out of line there. Oh, I was too intense. Oh, man, that was difficult and challenging. You didn't handle that. Okay, I got to own that, which I talk about in the book. It's like, be willing to own someone else's perspective. Because the difference between being teachable and coachable and actually having growth is, can I own someone else's perspective? Because the minute I discount it, I'm not willing to change. I talked to a buddy about, are you watching? I know you're a football guy. We haven't got enough into football, Jay. We really haven't. There's so much we can get into. Are you watching Hard Knocks?
I haven't watched it much this year, but I've watched it in the past. Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Seattle Seahawks, great leadership organization. I'm not a Seahawks fan. I'm a Browns fan. Feel bad for me in other ways. And there was a comment where one of the coaches was talking to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Huge fan of his because he's a Buckeye.
Great receiver, by the way. That's maybe the best in the NFL right now. I don't know.
He won the award last year, so we'll say yes. And it goes to this point where there's kind of this back and forth, and the coach is saying in their interview, oh, he's so good. He always asks for feedback and all that. Well, they go into a meeting and he's getting challenged because all of a sudden he's pushing back. And he makes even the jokes like, this is going to be on video and they're going to make fun of me and they're going to splice it together and see this. And he goes, yeah, but we can have this conversation and it's healthy. Yes. If you can have the conversation, if you can see the idea in what's going on, I may be challenged with owning it, but if I can sit here with you and say, I'm having a hard time with this, Jay, I'm having a hard time, but you know what? I respect you. I respect our relationship. I got to dig deep, but I don't understand. And it's thinking through. You don't have to be just blindly. Yes, Jay, thank you so much. Everything I believe. No, you got to wrestle with that in your head, because here's the point where I'm trying to make. We don't act outside of intention. we act with intention. So if my actions are leading a result that you're like, this is a problem, I didn't do it to create the problem. Again, they probably psychologically people are. I would say general people don't do that. So if you're telling me, hey, the way you're acting is not working, I'm sitting there and in my brain, I'm like, I don't know why it's not working because I acted in a way to make it work. So it comes back to how do we have those healthy relationships conversations? And that's what I describe as cleaning the window. It's to have that back and forth. And then you tell me, and I'm like, all right, let's clean these bugs off. Because we had a relationship issue. Those are bugs, but that's going to take work to clean it off to make it clear. But that's a healthy process.
Right. His name is Tyler Dickerhoof. Outstanding, isn't he? I know. You're kind of like all going, yes, really, really good. If you would shut up and let him talk more, that'd be awesome. The book's entitled The Things We Hide. Outstanding read. You're listening to him here on a new direction. Hey, folks, I know you've built a successful career, but lately you've hit a ceiling. And you know what? Pushing harder isn't really a very good working strategy because strategy alone won't get you to the next level. However, your mindset will. So that's what I do. I help top leaders rewire. I would say update their operating system, their internal limits, sharpen their focus, execute at peak capacity under pressure. Stop setting a plateau when your potential is limitless. Master your mental edge. Come talk to me. You can reach out to jay@thecoachjay.com. Book a call today. First call is absolutely complimentary. Happy to talk to you, see if I'm the right coach for you. Check it out, jay@thecoachjay.com. And Linda Craft, Team Realtors. Listen, if you're planning a move, you have to check out lindacraft.com. Honestly, it's much more than just a home listings website. And it's pretty awesome. So like Linda understands that moving impacts the whole entire family. That includes your kids and your pets. That's why her website features exclusive advice from a child psychologist on how to help kids move and adjust to a move. She has tips even from a veterinarian on moving with pets. It is the complete emotional resource center for your family in real estate. So see the difference for yourself. Log on today. Go to lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on a new direction with my friend Tyler Dickerhoof. The book, The Things We Hide, absolutely outstanding read, available Amazon bookstores near you. It's not on the bookstore shelf. Tell them to get it immediately and put it on the shelf. Also, do me a favor, because I know this from publishing books, go to your library and ask your librarian to get the book so that other people can read it. This is a library worth book. And you're going to be helping not just Tyler, but you're going to be helping a lot of people by getting that book in. So go to your local library. I know they're still out there. There's thousands of them, and have them bring that book in. You will not be disappointed. I promise you won't. I want to talk to you about, there's a story that's associated with this, Tyler, in chapter 6, and it's entitled Own What Others See Through the Window. And you start by talking, and I remember this. I'm older than you. I remember the Christmas candlelight services where we actually had real candles with the little paper thing to catch the wax. And if you, as a younger kid, right, you hold on to it and that thing became quite, but basically,
malleable.
Malleable. Well, it had your fingerprints just, totally. Right around there, right? But the point that you were making here is, as one candle doesn't grow dim by lighting another, neither do we when we empower others. Talk to us a little bit about that, because the idea of authentic vulnerability and presenting ownership kind of fits in here. So talk to us about, how owning what others see through. You've kind of mentioned a little bit, but just expand on that a little bit.
I think if I stop and I realize, even an instance in a relationship where I'm leading someone and they're struggling with ownership. And as I'm trying to encourage them, and I think about myself, where have I struggled with ownership? And the idea is, if I own it, I'll be less. And it's really this idea of a candle. If we empower, we give to other, we take that ownership, we're not less. We're actually making someone else greater. And that idea of if we're having a conversation, you're giving me feedback, we're kind of sharing information, and if I own it, it's like, oh, I didn't do that right. That actually makes our relationship stronger than if I make excuses, deny, and don't. And that's a hard lesson for people to learn in life. I'm helping a young man learn that lesson, and it's really hard. You are made better and stronger, and people will go farther with you if you own your shortcomings, not when you hide them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of this idea of the candle, and another example of like, yeah, I can pass my light to you. And that doesn't make you weaker. That makes both of us stronger. There's more light in the room. And it comes back to this. If you share something with me and I own it, now both of us got stronger. Because you shared something to improve me. Great. There's value in that. But also the practice of I owning it means that I can change my actions so that way we both get a better result.
Beautiful. Jumping to chapter 7, which you've entitled Bringing Out the Best in Yourself and Others, Shoot Your Shot. Yeah, you talk about the best framework, and I found this to be really, really, really cool. So set us up with the best framework, being aware enough, right? Serving, timing. Help us understand how this fits in here.
Too often, and coming back to best, how do you encourage someone? And again, part of this is owning what you're good at, and that's something that was a challenge for me for a long time. Because I wondered what my value was. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm not as good. I'm not as tall. I'm not as fast. I'm not all of these things. What can I even be good at? And growing up on a farm like you did, I was good at a lot of things, but not great at anything. And it was, okay, that's how to survive. Yeah, in some ways it is. But there was always a challenge to find my place. And so I heard a story about Coach John Wooden and how he had all these players and he would help make the best team. And I'm like, all right, well, what's the best team? And so I came up with an acronym, BEST. The first one is be aware. So he would help players be aware of what they uniquely did that only they could do to serve the team. And then he'd tell them, that's all you got to do. That's enough. So that's be aware. And then E is that's enough. And too often we try to do things we're not good at because we think, oh, that's what the team needs. No, stop. You're making a mess. Just do what only you can do. Here's the opportunity then is to serve the team. If you're aware of what you do well and you're comfortable and that's enough, then go serve the team and do what you can do. If you're a 7-foot tall center like Bill Walton, you better be by the basket, putting the ball in the hoop really quick. Now today's NBA, we think those guys need to be out shooting 3-pointers. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, if that's what you define, but understand what that unique gift and talent is and serve the team in that way. And here's the last point. It shows up fun on a basketball court, but it's also life. And I've been reading more about this last couple of days, is timing. So be aware, that's enough, serve, and timing. I can get the ball underneath the hoop, but if it's the opponent's hoop, it's not the right time for me to go up and score. I have to know the timing. I have to know when to use what I'm gifted at, when to serve others. And there's a timing element. And this is the thing that I think you'll love. There's only 2 ways to find out when the timing works. Do it wrong and figure out that's wrong, or a coach, a mentor, someone that advises you. That's how you figure out the timing, either experience or gifting from someone else. Like, this is the time to go. All right, I'm all in. Let's go. And so I so often be, do your best, be your best. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't even know. And so that's why I came up with that acronym. It's like, oh, here we go. This is great. It just gives clarity to it.
That's beautiful. Jumping to chapter 10, which is called The Sharpest Knife. There's something that I gotta have you talk about because I have some opinions here.
Let's go.
About optimists, pessimists, and realists. Okay. So here's the thing. I have never heard an optimist ever call themselves a realist, but I've often heard pessimists call themselves realists. And I think there's supposed to be a medium here where realism is because I think realism does lead a little bit more towards optimism, because there has to be hope even in realism. Because if you're a pessimist calling yourself a realist, then you're always looking at the downside of things. And I think, even the example you give, it was a military example of when they were prisoners of war, and they looked at the ones who survived, one who had a real, but they did have hope. They still did have some sense of hope. They weren't crazy off the end, weird optimists, but there was a sense of optimism that we could figure a way to get out of here, right? But we got to kind of stick together. Just talk about it. That's my opinions, and now I'm going to let you do yours.
I love how you again frame that optimism struggles with being real. It's like we don't have to live in today. Something is possible. It's like, well, shoot, how are we going to get there?
Right,
you got to bridge that gap somehow. And pessimism's like, oh, we think we're real. It's like, no, it's really not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting piece that I find in myself and others is a pessimism never really thinks they're that pessimistic.
Yes.
And optimism is always shaded towards the but. It's
Right,
the
right,
but.
right.
Okay. I may be only 6 foot tall, but I mean, this is like okay. Like, but the realism is kind of this mix and amalgamation of both. And I use the story of the Stockdale paradox from Jim Collins' Good to Great, and talks about James Stockdale. And really, here's the thing that comes back to the best. If I'm optimistic, like, well, I can beat every player on the court, I'm as good as everyone. It's like, okay, but that's not real, because 1 on 5 doesn't work, right? You need everyone. And a pessimism, like, well, we're never going to be good enough. Like, it just like, well, that's not necessarily the case either. It's somewhere in the middle, and in being able to be frank with that.
Right.
And it comes back to the ownership, and it comes back to being comfortable with your insecurities and not denying it. It really, again, layers into this, be okay with you.
Yeah.
And part of being okay with you is being authentic, not being something different. Not, you can work at anything. You can choose. I see the book right behind you, Mindset. Yeah. Carol told us we can be anything we want to be if we believe that.
Right.
Within reason.
Right.
Okay, great. I love it and appreciate and accept it. And that's this consideration of the optimism, the realism, the pessimism is, and I've had to fight through that. Like, I just had some buddies the other day call me out. It's like, dude, why you always got to be so like wet blanket? I'm like, all right, thank you. And we were talking about a friend of ours. He was going to the Oregon coast. If you know anything about the Oregon coast, it's always like 60 degrees and, kind of overcast. And it's like almost refreshing because it's different. And I'm like, I just don't understand people that like to go there. To me, that sounds miserable. And I told my buddy this, who's there right now. And they're like, geez, dude, you didn't even let him like be excited about his family. Oh, you're right. Yes, we had fun when we went there. I get that you love and enjoy it. And it's just, again, being so stuck into this realism of my real that it weighs down others. It's like, man, that's a leadership challenge. And I need people to help me clean my window to say, stop, you're right. I can't do that. Man, so excited for you, Andy. Love your trip. Can't wait to hear about it on the back end. And, it's here's coming back to the idea of the window, the mirror, all of it. We can generally say, oh, I'm optimistic, and people can say, yeah, you are or not. And then there's the people, oh, they're just real. The people who struggle are the pessimists, because people often want to no, I'm not like that. You are. And it's, the challenge probably of the biggest place for us to seek the viewpoint of others. Like, yeah, that's you're not benefiting others here.
Right. We've done an hour, Tyler.
Yeah.
It's been fun, man. This has been awesome. I could sit here and do another hour or two with you. This has been great. Tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah.
And what you offer. Tell them this is what I offer. This is what we do. Go ahead.
Yeah. So go to my website, tylerdickerhoof.com. You'll learn about me, all those things. I have couple offerings. One's the book we've talked about. The next one is I offer every month. It's called a Lead Without Hiding Challenge, where to help people lead without hiding. And what that looks like and how to work through it. We work through some of the frameworks that Jay and I have talked about. You can go to leadwithouthiding.com to find out the next dates available. I also have my coaching community, which is called the Free to Lead Roundtable, where I work with people in cohort groups and group coaching, where we work through this stuff. And what I love, and it's a process that I've learned, is what you're experiencing, what others experience. We start to layer that together, and then we exponentially grow and learn. That's what transformed me, and that's what I love to offer others as well.
Awesome. Stay with me, Tyler, please. Folks, it's the show. You know what I say to you every week? We are in control of three things: your attitude, your effort, and your resiliency. Life doesn't always give us what we want, and we find ourselves in situations we didn't ask for. But what you are in control of is your positive attitude. Choose that, because that's within your choice. Not always easy, but it can be done. Your effort is tied to your excellence. We don't always have the same amount of energy in the tank on any given day, but you can be excellent through your effort with how much you're going to do with what you do have left. Choose your effort and your excellence. And then finally, resiliency. We all get punched in the gut, punched in the mouth. We get knocked down, but it's up to you to get back up. Why? Because you're worth it, and we want you on the team. I'll be back next week with another great guest, another great show. It's so easy. Listen, if you're listening to us by podcast, give us a positive review. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. That's always good. And then subscribe. And then also tell your friends. We really appreciate it. As I say to you all over the world, you had a lot of choices. You chose us. Thank you so much. And ciao, everybody.